All right. So welcome everyone to our Prepare for the Career Fair session on researching employers. Today, we're going to be looking at the employers that will be participating in the Public Health Career Fair, along with, kind of reviewing some best strategies to learn a little bit more about them ahead of that, and then also to a good way to keep track of everything that you might find out as you're doing your research. So what I'm just gonna kind of first go through is just what we're planning to cover. I'll go quickly through the list of registered employers, industries they represent, some demographics about the employers, um, things like location, job types, the opportunities that they currently have posted, some of the things that they are recruiting for. Just make sure that everybody knows within Handshake where to find the information and do a demo of that. And then also share with you an employer tracking sheet, one that you can use to kind of keep notes on things that you're doing as you're doing the searching, and then save the end for some questions. So if you can, ask questions during, if you have something pressing, or you wait till the end, that'd be fine, or you put them into the chat. And I'll get to them at the end there as well. So a little bit about the career fair. So these are some of the industries that are going to be represented at the career fairs. We have biotech, life sciences, environmental and technical consulting, government at federal, state, and local levels. We also are going to have healthcare companies, international companies or NGOs, nonprofits, and then other. That's a combination of, we have a communications company, we have a pharmaceutical company, a couple higher education organizations as well that are going to be participating. And then another large one is research. We have a lot of different organizations, whether for-profit or nonprofit, that are going to be represented at the career fair as well. We ask the employers as part of their registration to select the industry that they believe that their company should be in, but we also too can see sometimes what they think might be slightly different than how students review it. But what you're going to generally find with this is that these are the things that the employer is representing through Handshake, in terms of the industry that they feel like they represent. Some employers too, you're going to find that they will represent multiple industries, so they might not be locked into one particular one, but they're going to be, they kind of dabble in something that could be consulting and nonprofit at the same time as well. Just a little bit about the companies that are coming, that are in the biotech life sciences space. So BGI Americas, who had an earlier info session last week, but these are just some of the companies that are going to be there, along with links for all of them. So one of the things you will find, and I think that's a good idea to do with this, is if there is a company of interest, is going directly to their website. And I'll go through kind of what to look for on a company website, but kind of marking down the URLs for companies that you would be interested in. These are the state and local government organizations that will be participating. So you'll see it's federal government, the Council of State and Territorial Epidemiologists, that's a nationwide organization, and then you'll find some local health departments as well that will be participating in the career fair. Healthcare organizations, so you'll see what ranges here is from insurance companies to actual medical facilities, also schools of medicine that will be participating as well. And don't be too turned off by the idea that it's they identify as healthcare, even though they're maybe an academic institution. You usually will find that there's a lot of crossover there as well. And part of what they might be is identified as healthcare, but they're looking for research roles. So that might be another thing to save. I'm slightly interested in wanting to go into this. I might want to just look to see what maybe open positions that they are recruiting for at the career fair, because they might be a healthcare company, but they have a research role that would be a good fit. These are some of the NGOs that will be participating. So John Snow, PATH, RTI International, the Elizabeth Glaser Pediatric AIDS Foundation. These are companies that have participated in our career fairs in the past. Nonprofit organizations, Mathematica, MITRE, I will say the PCOS challenge is the new organization for us that's participating. So, and this is a good thing to remember too when exploring through the career fair is some of these organizations by name you might recognize, and then there might be ones that you don't recognize. And so it's probably a good idea to keep those in mind as well, just to do some extra exploring. It's not a bad idea to look at 3 or 4 of those that you don't know by name, and just to see, learn a little bit more about them to see if you might be maybe slightly interested in what they have to offer or the work that they do, or maybe they would just be good ones to stop into and talk through and meet with at the career fair. Research organizations. So you'll see here, this is a range of kind of different types of companies and things like that. That range from nonprofit, for-profit, think tanks, research organizations, ones that represent organizations that do a lot of hiring for the federal government as well, like ORISE. So, again, these are all research kind of oriented type of organizations. And then again, like I say, our other list, it's pharmaceutical, higher education, and then also a communications company. What I think is important to remember with any of these employers that are coming to the career fair, even if they don't quite match your particular area of training or your particular area of interest, they are looking to recruit public health students. Now, they might have preferences of what they're looking for, and you want to pay attention to what some of those things are that they have needs for. But I can also think that you can also use any of these organizations that are here as a jumping off point for future researching of organizations. So if a company like Reservoir Communications Group, which you haven't heard of before, maybe you want to look to see, well, what's similar about them with other organizations? What's something about them that that I can see a public health experience working in. So a little bit about the kind of employers that are coming. So over 95% of employers state that they're located in the US. 83% of the employers say they are recruiting for jobs. So as part of the registration, we ask them to say, what types of things are you looking to recruit for? So 83% are recruiting for jobs, 60% are recruiting for internships, and 19% state they're recruiting for fellowships. Other things that they put in there that they're looking to recruit for, maybe they're looking for experiential learning, maybe they're looking for a volunteer thing. This is in combination with jobs, internships, and fellowships. So these are the 3 things that most employers are looking to recruit for. And you'll find this information when you go to that list of registered employers and see kind of what's there. Of those that are coming, there's over 100 posted positions as part of their registration. Some employers have more than 10, some employers only have 1. But this might be also a good thing to kind of use as a gauge to kind of say if it is an employer that has a lot of job postings, it could be that they are in a very active hiring cycle. If it's just an organization that has 1 posting, that just might be what they're posting for right now, and then what that may mean also too is that they'll have more kind of later on. We do have a fair number of our employers that have not put anything in the registration that they're hiring for. That does not mean that you should not that they are not going to be hiring at some point. To me, their participation in the career fair is a way to do recruitment. It is a way for them to fill positions that they may have. They just might not have had one at the time that they registered. Employers have been registering since last year. So at the time that they completed the registration, they didn't have anything, but now, in late February, early March, they might have things that they're posting for. And that's why it's important to visit the organizations that you're interested in, express an interest that you want to be there, and then learn more to see if they have job postings. A little bit of details about the student recruitment. So 86% of the employers said that they are looking to recruit students at the master's degree level, which is pretty on par with things that we found in the past career fairs. So a majority of our employers are looking to hire anybody coming out of our school with a master's degree. And then 66% of the employers say they're recruiting for students at the doctoral or postdoctoral level. Now, this also means that these same employers might be doing master's, doctoral, postdoc. And so you just want to kind of keep that in mind, is that maybe they want to cover all their bases in terms of what they're recruiting for, but the conversation might be, about master's level positions that they have there right now or doctoral level positions. But this just gives you an indicator to kind of let you know too, is that, if you are one of, a master's student or a doctoral student, you can use this a little bit as a filter to kind of know like, well, I should prioritize these organizations first before some of the other ones. And then for a lot of international students, so one of the things I want to make sure that we're kind of as much as we can be clear on, but employers state as part of the registration that U.S. authorization is required, but the employer is willing to sponsor candidates. Now, what exactly this means for the employer is that they have, what I believe that it means is that they have work that would allow for them to be able to have non-U.S. citizens to do the work. And they're willing to consider the sponsorship, but this does not mean that they're going to quote unquote hire international students. It just means that they're willing to consider it. The other consideration that you can look at with this is that the employer is willing to accept OPT and CPT candidates. So that means for all types of international students, that this is an employer that if you apply to there, that you would be able to be considered because you're on your OPT and CPT as a recent graduate. There was a question. CPT and OPT is a type of not visa sponsorship, but it's a type of job authorization. So it allows you to do a continuation of your academic training beyond the degree program as a way to gain some applied experience in the area that you're interested in. So it's a form of work authorization, but I still believe that your visa is still a student visa during that time. But please don't quote me on that. Double check with the Office of International Services to confirm all that. No problem. Okay. So what I just want to also to kind of mention a little bit too with the work authorization. So these are the statements that you'll see in the handshake information. For international students, it's more of a question of what to say to avoid is any organization that says for work authorization, U.S. citizenship is required, then that would probably be one that is not going to be one that is worth looking at. But all the other ones, so other things they might say is there's no work authorization required. So that means, there is no need to be a U.S. citizen to be able to work there. And then these are the other two statements that would be on there. But it is still worth, confirming with that organization, but still go to them, still have a conversation with them, still learn about what it is that they do. Don't worry about the work authorization at this particular point, at least as a way to express an interest. But if you feel strongly you want to say that information and be upfront with it ahead of time, but I wouldn't lead with that information. I wouldn't lead with a question of, do you hire international student? Because actually, and sometimes the person that's there may or may not know, or they might not give you a clear answer in terms of what it is. So just use this as a little bit of a guide to give you that kind of extra piece of information that you're looking for. All right, so after talking a little bit about this, I think a good thing to do in creating for yourself is a top 12 list. And what I think about with this list is choose anywhere between 12 to 15 employers that you would like to kind of visit or like kind of meet with and talk to. And then break these into different tiers for yourself. So choose 3 or 4 employers that you absolutely want to visit. That like, yeah, I really, this is the type of place I want to go to. This is the type of organization I'm really interested in. And that list might be longer, that's fine. But you also too can, kind of narrow it down to say, which one do I have a very strong interest in? And then making sure that I'm gonna, schedule my time to meet with somebody from there if I can, or I'm gonna, set up a chance to have a conversation with someone there. And then ones that I have heard of, but I don't know much about, and then choose 3 or 4 that you haven't heard of. And so what you're trying to do is, maximize the time that you're there to learn more about lesser known employers and opportunities. If it's an organization that you already know well, if it's an organization you've already applied to, if it is an organization that you have already built a connection with and they already have your resume, it does not necessarily mean that you have to go visit them during the career fair. This would actually be the time to visit somebody else. So let's say, for example, you have done a good job of connecting with that employer at Path, for example, and you have shared your information and they know that you're interested in wanting to apply to a job. And then that same person is going to be at the career fair. You don't have to kind of stop in and just let them know that you're interested. Allow for yourself to visit with another employer. Expand the reach of what it is that you're kind of looking for. One of the things that you can use with this is a tool from the 2-Hour Job Search by Steve Dalton. So it's a book that it gives you a kind of a step-by-step tool. And this is what I'm going to suggest that you use as a way to keep track of this information. So one of the things that he has in here is this list is called a LAMP, kind of a LAMP method to keeping track of the different types of organizations or jobs at organizations you may be interested in. And I'm going to share an example of this into the chat. So give me 1 second while I pull it up. So one of the things you can use with this document is this document will allow for you to go through and kind of identify the organizations that you would be interested in, and then also at the same time look to see what type of opportunities might be there. Look to see what type of alumni might be working there as well. And then by using this sheet, this is going to give you a type of it's certainly going to give you a way to kind of prioritize again the organizations you might be interested in. So one of the things I'm going to suggest that you do is go through the different types of organizations that are coming to the career fair. Type in, if we go back to this top 12 list, and just kind of think to yourself, okay, here are all the organizations that I would be interested in. Now I'm going to go through and use this sheet as a way to decide, do they have alumni that work there? Do they have job postings? How motivated am I to want to work there? So that's what you're kind of gauging with this, is that you're building lists, looking for alumni, how motivated, what type of job postings do they currently have? And by using this sheet, this also too will give you at least some clarity to say, like, where are my interests kind of going towards? If I'm not too sure, like, does it seem like I don't know what industry I'm interested in, but after doing this exercise, I realized I'm really much more interested in wanting to work in a government public sector level than a private sector or something like that. And so what this just really truly kind of allows for is that, the number of employers that you see at the career fair might be a lot, but maybe before you get there, you'll know, like, okay, I want to prioritize these and use that as a skill set. All right, so talking just a little bit about kind of the employers that are here. So this is, what it would look like when you log into the career fair, and you kind of get to that through your handshake, do the search and handshake. And then when you go to that list of registered employers, this is the kind of screenshot of what you're going to get of information. And so what you're looking for as you kind of go through this, and kind of key things to kind of keep in mind, where they're exactly at, could be an important thing for you or not. I don't think geography is a big kind of huge factor in the type of employers you should be looking for. But if it's important to you, you'll kind of know this is where most organizations, based on what they have in handshake, that they're going to put in for where they're headquartered. The next thing you can kind of do with this too is, kind of as you kind of go through and prepare for yourself, I'm like, okay, I'm going to follow this company, so that in addition to following them for the career fair, you're then going to follow them afterwards as well. So this is an employer of interest for yourself. So if you create that list, go back through here, through the list of employers that are here, and just to say, oh, this is an employer that I'm interested in. So it's kind of like a favorite. It's kind of like starring. It's kind of like creating, kind of a filtered list for yourself. After that, you're going to get some basic information about each employer. So some employers will have just very general information that they've pulled from their website, or their recruitment team has put this information in there. But this will certainly give you some insight and give you some idea of what an organization is, what the work that they do. But it is still important to go to that company webpage. It is still important to do a little bit more of a deep dive and not just use kind of what's there. Next thing you want to look at is the different type of job types. So as I mentioned before, most employers are doing internships, jobs, fellowships, but you want to see what they're putting in there in terms of the job types that they're looking to recruit for. And then you'll see a quick snapshot too, like these are the job titles, and these are the types of work that they have kind of going on. Now, you can find more information about each one of these job titles by going through Handshake. So if you look for that employer in Handshake and then you go to see these could be the active jobs that they have posted. These could be just the jobs that they put in as part of the registration. And I'll use this example later on so you can kind of see too, like where else you can go to get more information about each organization. And then finally too, you're going to kind of look at the employment type. So most employers are looking for full-time, some might be looking for part-time, some might be looking for both. And then finally too, looking at school year. So most of our employers are going to put in alumni, masters, doctoral, postdocs. But we give them the option to put in as many different things there as they want, but majority are going to have masters, doctoral, and postdocs. And then finally, the work authorization. So this is where you're going to know very quickly, what are they willing to accept? What is it if they have U.S. citizenship required or anything like that as well. So you're going to find this for every single employer that's registered for the fair. It's all going to be the same consistent information. It's just going to be on how much information they put in the registration ahead of time. So just a little bit now to talk about an employer that you might go to. So let's just say, for example, the Acumen is an employer that you're really strongly interested in. So this is, you go to their page and like, okay, let me now do a little bit of the deep dive of information about them. This information is helpful just to kind of help you get a sense to confirm is what I think about an organization is what they're showing you that's available going to help me. So one of the things you can certainly look at is to say, what is their expertise and learning more about what it is that they do. What are the services that they provide to clients? What are the types of activities that they do? Are these work to do? Is this work that you can find yourself to be interested in wanting to do? What do we believe in? So this might be like a mission statement or value statement, a vision statement of an organization. And a lot of organizations are going to have this information there as well. The about part of the organization. So if you scroll down on this page, the next thing you're going to find is like, a little bit of information about, what we do and who we are and what are the things that we're involved in. And then they're going to talk about like what our work is. And you're going to learn a little bit more about, the type of activities and things that they're doing. What you will notice is the first thing I did not go to was careers. So what I'm going to encourage you to do in any type of this is to first, before jumping to the career part of this, is to learn a little bit more about the organization and see if the organization is doing the types of things you would be interested in. So I think a very strong tendency for everybody is the first thing they want to go to is when they look at an organization is what are the jobs? What can I apply to? Am I qualified to do it? What's the pay? All those things that are, I know are very, very important, but I think you want to also to ahead of time of that, really kind of do a deep dive in the organization. So if I can advise you to do anything, one of the things would be is to avoid looking at the careers page first. Don't have that factor into your decision as much as looking at some of these other things. And some of these organizations will do a very good job of putting all that information out there for you. Some other organizations, you're going to have to do a little bit more kind of, internet sleuthing around and kind of clicking through things and trying to find things like that. But if you do get to this careers page, so one of the things you want to kind of look at is something like this, which is usually you're going to have tiers of job roles that an organization has. They're going to have teams that people might need to join into. They're going to have ways to kind of segment out the information. If you look at the Johns Hopkins University careers page, it's broken down by the different schools within Hopkins. It's broken down by the roles. It's broken down by the level. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that the organizations kind of use and keep track of this information. And so what I would say to do is choose the area that you think you're the strongest fit for to start, or to look at the other ones and say, well, I don't really want to do an administrative role, so I'm just going to eliminate that role. I don't think I want to do a technology role, so I'm going to eliminate that. So sometimes what it may be is that you're not choosing one, but you're more eliminating what an organization has that I'm not interested in. So if I go back to the Hopkins example, is that, well, I know I don't want to do anything in nursing, so I don't have to look at anything that's related to nursing. I know I don't want to do anything in international affairs, so I don't need to look at anything that's coming from SICE. But sometimes what it is, it's more of a process of elimination to give you an answer more than anything else. When you do go to a certain area, then you're going to look at the particular kind of listing the jobs that are in there. And this is where it becomes hard, is because you're not going to know just by a job title how and what the work is and whether you're a good fit for it. And I will say, unfortunately, probably what you're going to have to do is open up every job just to kind of look to see, like, what is then a way that I could eliminate a job title because I'm not interested or I'm not qualified. So, and one of the things I think this is good to kind of look at with this is that what it means to be an analyst here, what it means to be an associate here, what it means to be a coordinator within this organization could mean very different things and very different levels of how they do their hiring. And so unless somebody's kind of giving you kind of a cheat sheet to know, like, well, if you're a master's student, you should only look for this, you're going to have to kind of do this on your own. And so one of the things I think you want to kind of be aware of is to say, okay, as I go through this organization and I see that an associate role means you have to have this level of degree, an analyst role means you have to have this. Find the filters that you can use to help you to know what would be a potential fit. Now, the particular job that you might be looking for here might be an exact match, but maybe what you're not looking for here, is a role that doesn't kind of check all the boxes for you, but it's one that you think, well, I could see myself doing it and to be something worth applying to. And it's within these responsibilities that you're going to find this, important information, and you're going to go through the job responsibilities. If you scroll down, you're going to learn a little bit more about here's what the job is, here's what the degree requirements are for the job. So if it means that a coordinator role, a requirement is only an undergraduate degree, well, then maybe does that then mean that the analyst role requires a master's degree? Well, then that's a better fit. That's what I should prioritize first in terms of what I'm looking for. So it's a lot of kind of, investigating. It's a lot of kind of searching. It's a lot of kind of keeping track of information. But part of what you want to be aware of with this is that a lot of organizations do things very differently. There's not going to be any kind of, clear way that the way one organization kind of organizes and categorizes their job postings is going to be the same for all of them. So I do see that there's a question here. Yes, you will get a chance to talk with companies at the career fair. So the way that the career fair you'll be able to schedule times to meet with different types of employers that you're interested in. Or if employers are doing kind of like group sessions, you'll be able to have some general information kind of shared with them. But it will just kind of depend on what your goal is in terms of what you're trying to do at the career fair. It is certainly a hiring event, but it also too is a very good way for you to be, kind of exposed to different types of employers and different types of things that they have kind of going on. All right. So another thing I want to suggest that is done as doing part of this kind of, searching for different types of employers is to do a targeted Google search. So one of the things you can look at with this is that you can type in the name of any organization that's participating in the career fair. And then if you type in Johns Hopkins Bloomberg, look to see if there's any alumni, look to see if there's any staff that work with the company that are affiliated with Bloomberg. What I feel like this does is this actually gives you some sense of, well, what have the roles been that people have gotten into? What have been the career trajectories of folks that have some affiliation with the school that are working there? Will this give me a good sense also to say, well, if there's a high kind of concentration of alumni that work there, does that help to kind of increase the likelihood that this is an organization that would be interested in wanting to hire recent graduates or students that are coming from the school? So one of the things that you're learning with this is that you're kind of learning a little bit more too about this networking piece of it. So if we think about the job search, it's very much not about doing like the looking for the job and applying to the job through the website, but if even before I applied, I could connect with somebody, I could let them know that I'm interested in wanting to be there, and then it could create a soft landing for my application afterwards. This also too would be a very good idea to do after you've completed the career fair, which is go back into the name of the organization, and then type in the name of somebody that you talk to, and then connect with them on LinkedIn. So this is another good kind of tip in terms of like going back and kind of doing some of that follow-up afterwards as well. Another important thing that you can do is, another important thing that you can do, and it's not here on this slide, is look at the name of organization and then look at one that is similar to it. So any of the organizations that you're interested in, if you do a targeted search, you do people also search for, and then Google will give you suggestions of other organizations. This might not help out with the career fair, but this maybe help out with you after the career fair, which is to say, I really enjoyed the conversation that I had with the people at Acumen. Let me find other organizations that are similar to them, because maybe they also too have types of roles that my background would be a good fit. And so don't think that that talking to somebody just at the career fair is enough. Sometimes those can just be starting off points to say, okay, well, this is a sector of work that I think I could be a good fit for. Let me find if there's other organizations that are similar to this. And then I'm going to go through those same steps again, search through the organization, determine my level of motivation to want to work there, and see if I can find any alumni. Again, going back through kind of, as a kind of final wrap up to this is, what should you be searching as you're doing the searching of employers? So one of the things you definitely want to be searching for is kind of a location. Another thing is looking at the mission, vision, and strategies of the company. Looking for any new information from the company. Do they have any information about the projects or news releases? Do they have any information about active things that they're currently doing? How long has the company been around? How long has the company been doing the work in that particular field? Do they have any information about any employee data? Do they have any information about rankings about the best places to work? Do they have a list of the leadership that's there, type of management or anything like that? Looking through the biographies of actually the board members, or looking through the biographies of the people that work there. Maybe you're only going to find the leadership folks that have biographies in there. But maybe what you're doing with this is that you're looking to see, what have their backgrounds been, what have been the education that they've had in the past. And then looking to see, well, is there a concentration of public health people that work there, or people that work there coming from other industries as well? So do your research, because one of the things that can be helpful with this, it allows you to kind of take in the information that you learn and talk through, with that particular employer, if you're talking with them about, what you know about them, what you know about the work that they do. So if you can do this before you even get there and be like, I've already gone to your website, I've already seen this, I've done these things, I really kind of feel like this would be a good fit. That's an impressive thing for an employer. So, sometimes what you're going to have to do with this, is kind of keep track of the things that you've learned about them and things like that. But sometimes you can just very naturally kind of bring these up and have these things that you kind of talk about. The other kind of key thing to do it is it allows you to evaluate whether, the strongest qualities of a particular organization that you might be interested in. It allows you to kind of see and prioritize for yourself, what do I want to really want to be working at and working for. And it just kind of gives you some better clarity, as opposed to like, well, I got to look at all these organizations. No, I can kind of narrow these things down and make it a smaller list for myself. And then, like I say, it really allows you to impress the employer reps that are there, that they'll remember if you've had a conversation, or if you've stated that you've learned about them ahead of time. The organizations would like to know that somebody is interested in them, and they're not just kind of meeting with them for the very first time. So if you can demonstrate that you've done your homework on them, that is something usually that will kind of they'll remember afterwards. All right. Are there any questions? Anything I can answer? Put here in the chat. Will we get it? Oh yeah, we already answered that one. So, any questions I can answer? Yes, I will definitely share the slide deck with everybody that's here today and registered. I also make this recording available, so you can go back, and anything that was missed, I will send that out to you as a YouTube link. Okay. I will also I'll email out the copy of the employer tracker. So if you didn't get a chance to download it, you can do that again. And yes, thank you for mentioning that. So for the remainder of today and throughout the whole rest of the week, we're going to be having either employer spotlights or access expert chances to meet with and talk with employers. So I know this afternoon we have one with ORISE. They're going to give a presentation about kind of the fellowship programs and things that they do. And then we have another series of kind of access experts, which are more kind of like moderated Q&As with employers. So it's just a chance for you to be able to hear from employers. Maybe you want to attend and you can ask a question or just learn a little bit more. And then we will have throughout all the rest of this week, the Ask Us Anything drop-in hours. Those are for looking at resumes to discuss anything about the career fair, any other questions you may have or anything like that. But yeah, we'll have those all throughout the week. So just feel free to drop in and ask anybody in the office questions you have about the career fair as well. Okay. Well, if there are no other questions, I want to say thank you all for coming to this. And do you have or have done any prep questions for answering? When you say prepping questions and answering, are you meaning for your own interview itself, like a mock interview, or or questions to ask employers? Okay. So we do have a few things about kind of answering questions and things like that. If you could follow up with me kind of one-on-one, I can send you some things about kind of, preparing for interviews and stuff like that. More than happy to do that. Or if you want to come to one of the drop-ins. You can talk to them on the spot, but once the registration is open, you'll have a chance to schedule times to meet with employers. Once the registration is open, which is opening tomorrow, I believe. So you'll be able to go in and schedule times to meet with employers. All right. Well, there's no further questions. Again, thank you all for coming. And again, if you have questions about anything, please feel free to drop into our employers or ask us anything drop-in session. All right. Bye, everyone.